riding with my top down, listening to this Jesus music.
Back on the grind again. I know it's been a little while, but it's time again. Folks ask the crate, when you gon' rhyme again? I'm like, hold up, give me time, my man. See a lot of things change, some stay the same. Went from H-Town to D-Town to Memphis, man. One thing is for sure, everywhere I go, people caught up in themselves, money, cars, and clothes. Yeah, they talk about it all the time and put it in their songs. They drive around and play it loud like it ain't nothing wrong. And all they talk about is simple stuff.
Peaches.
Oh my God. Peaches. And cream.
You guys read those announcements? And cream.
I know.
Why not?
Tommy, I love your guitar. I want one.
Here. Yes, thank you, Mark. That's
That's Emily. Say hi to Emily.
there, Cody.
There you go.
Get over here.
Right there.
Yeah.
My name's not Emily. It's
Alright. Praise band attack. Praise band attack. Shazam. Shazam. I like Rush. Okay.
What? Oh, these! Oh my goodness. These are all on my camera. They were.
You gonna play?
It's mine. You can play with
right there.
Heather, shut up. I don't make your feet properly.
It's here.
No, you don't.
Sorry.
Go to your desk.
Alright. As you're waiting, wait for the praise band to get together. So yeah, I know y'all have heard this song, except y'all two. Y'all have heard this song, I don't know, about, y'all three, sorry. That's good. Y'all probably heard this many times, but I don't know if y'all listened to what Pastor Don said Sunday about coming ready to worship. And right now, I also remember my little niece, right? She had 3 little friends try out for the middle school team, and the coach was like, you know, my niece did a great job, you know, everything. These 2 girls were like messing around and stuff, said like, you need to get rid of your 6th grade attitude. And we need to get rid of our high school attitudes. I have a high school attitude sometimes, but this is not the time for it. Not the time or place. There's time for that. So let's come ready to worship right now. Ready to do it. What's that? Well, the middle school and high school attitudes, alright? Let's get rid of that now. That's irrelevant, okay? Let's get rid of that now. Let's get ready to sing. Alright, that's it.
I don't know why.
Okay?
Don't worry.
Just as you are to worship, just as you are before your God. One day every tongue will confess you are God. One day every knee will bow. Still the greatest treasure remains for those who gladly choose you now.
David said this. No matter what happens, make a joyful noise unto the Lord, alright? Alright? That's a joyful noise, alright?
Sounds good. I like it.
Yeah. But the words don't matter here. And I'll read these out before I even sing them. I'll read these out. But yeah. Okay, don't even worry about it. No words. Shh, shh, shh. That's what you're doing, that's what you need to do. Alright, check. We fall down, we lay our crowns at the feet of Jesus. The greatness of mercy and love at the feet of Jesus. We lay our crowns, all the words, all the stuff we're talking about. You know, hi, how you doing? No, none of that. None of that. But let's try to concentrate on that right now. But just concentrate on the words. Sing the words of Jesus. Don't worry about nothing else but that. Nothing else. Alright? Ready? We lay all our crowns at the feet of Jesus. Greatness of His mercy and love at the feet of Jesus. We cry, holy, holy, holy. We cry, holy, holy, holy. We cry, holy, holy, holy is the Lamb. We fall down, we lay all our crowns at the feet of Jesus. The greatness of His mercy and love at the feet of Jesus. We cry, holy, holy, holy. We cry, holy, holy, holy. We cry, holy, holy, holy is the Lamb. All y'all sing this. And we fall down, we lay on our crowns at the feet of Jesus. The greatness of His mercy and love at the feet of Jesus. We cry, holy, holy, holy. We cry, holy, holy, holy. We cry, holy, holy, holy is the Lamb.
Go ahead and seat it. Zach. You're in the PowerPoint. Run the PowerPoint. Where to go? Where to go? Where to go?
Steven. We can take mine, sure.
You're welcome. Actually, I'm gonna stand up.
I did not do anything. Did not do anything.
I got bad knees.
Zach, underneath the red mic, please.
I am bad.
Oh no, I turned it off.
It's off. It's off.
Oh, it's off.
That's. I don't know. This board is confused.
I like that. That's what's fun.
It's different. It says red cover. I think it says blue. Yeah, blue, green, blue.
Test it with something like your
Boy,
No more caffeine for Erica.
what do you got?
How many people does it take to unmute a microphone?
Seriously.
Let's go find out.
Change the board.
Two buttons together, the top one.
Try it. There you go. Which one is it?
Everybody else want to know what button it is? It turns on mute the microphone.
I was just getting ready to push that button. I think you broke it.
I'm not telling you.
Okay, here we go.
Sorry, Bo. Turn back on it.
Test there.
Oh, you broke it. Oh.
Stop playing. Okay, what do I want for the next 1 minute? 1 minute and 1 minute only. Okay, 1 minute. When I say go, I want you to talk. Just talk. I don't care. What I want you to do is get out of your system. So when I'm talking, you are not. Okay? Can we do that?
Go sit down.
Go ahead.
I haven't met everybody. Steven, introduce your guest.
Downstairs.
Girlfriend.
You have to sit there.
I'll get somebody else.
Is the minute almost done? I think I got the phone.
Feet down, please.
I think it's right here.
Go back to your way. Just go back to the lead ministry one. Okay, shh, your minute's up. 1 minute. Turn me down just a little, please. 60 seconds. Oh, they are. No. Has everybody met our visitors?
Emily!
Emily is a friend of Erica's.
Hi!
Obviously, that's Emily.
And Levi's.
And Levi's. Anybody else that goes to West Wilson?
Then
Then in our very back row, sitting next to the great Stephen, is Daniel, Amber, and Tony. They're denying your existence. Say hello to our visitors. Sorry.
My name's Lee, everybody.
Levi! My name is Emily!
Everybody.
Let's go ahead and pray and we'll get started.
DJ, oh yeah.
What'd you say about me?
That's listen. Our great Heavenly Father, we just come before you tonight and prepare our hearts to hear your word, Lord, whether it be out of my mouth or somebody else's. I pray that you help us to listen, to understand what you're telling us. Help us to get ready as we're getting ready to cover a new series and a new book, and just open our hearts and minds. I pray for the students here that you will help them to learn from what I'm telling them and what we discuss. In your name we pray. Amen. I want. Where's the baseball bat?
I'm not talking
Any other time it's running around here?
Which baseball bat?
There's a baseball bat.
Closet. I got one in the closet.
Everything's in the closet. Everything. I want my man too, but
Hey, shut up.
I didn't ask for 2 commentaries. Listen, I want you to imagine. Close your eyes. Everybody close your eyes. Close your eyes. Close your eyes.
Close your eyes. Hey, shut up.
And your mouth.
Good enough.
That's close, I guess. See, I'll tell you something funny. Open your eyes just a second. Where I work, and I'll talk about my work just a second. We have a roll, a cardboard roll, I guess it was like for a poster or something like that a friend of mine has, and on it he wrote "Tubo beating," and we use it to hit people that mess up. So anyways, that's my story. Close your eyes. I want you to imagine, and this is if you're a guy, you've probably done this, and if you're a girl, you've probably heard it. Close your eyes. I want you to imagine that you're standing at a plate, baseball, if you will. So I don't have a bat. You're standing at the plate, and you're either we'll pretend you're in the World Series. Okay. Some of you may know where this is going. And you're at the plate, and you walk up, and as you walk up, you see the pitcher, and the pitcher's staring back at you like he wants to hit you in the head. And throwing a ball that fast, you may just do it. And so you get up to the plate, the pitcher pitches it with your eyes closed, and you swing. And the moment you connect with the ball, you know where that ball's going. You just hit a 400-foot home run, World Series. And as you're standing there watching the ball fly and you're starting to trot around the base, you realize that the bat's still in your hand. You continue to carry it even around as you round second and round third. And you don't want to let go of that bat because that bat's giving you one thing that you've never had before. And that is your first home run. Go ahead and open your eyes. Yes. If you don't understand the analogy, don't worry about it.
How did he get to the World Series if he never made a home run before?
A lot of people do that. Runner or something.
Since
runner, yes.
And I have a baseball bat in my hand. I don't watch baseball as much as I used to. I think it's become a very boring game. Very high price. Anyways, but I used to wonder when I watched baseball, whenever somebody would hit a home run, they would automatically know that it was a home run, even before the ball went even close out of the park. And they would start walking around the thing. It wasn't until I was in the 8th or 9th grade that I started playing baseball, and I realized on every baseball bat and golf club and other instruments that you use to play sports, there's what's called a sweet spot. This is actually, on most modern baseball bats, is a computerized spot on the bat that, when hit, will make the ball go farther and better than any other spot on the bat. If you've ever swung a bat and hit it on close to your hand or the top of the bat, you understand it. And so then I found out what it was that caused these hitters to understand and just to take off front end and try it around the base. When you find your sweet spot, you know everything is just right. You know the stars have aligned and whatever have come together for you to get to that point. If you look at different sports, and as of lately we call it, it's called being in the zone, where everything in your life comes together, everything in your sport. I'm sure at some point Michael Jordan was in his zone when he was playing, and watching him play, you just notice it. Each of you sitting in this room, each person sitting in this church, and each person in this world has what is called a sweet spot. This is a spot in your life where you feel most comfortable, most at home, most in your zone. Have you ever sat and looked around your math class and looked at the girl or looked at the students who know exactly what this teacher is talking about? And I know a lot of you guys are not math heroes, so I won't put you in that thing, but you know. I had people in my class, math was their thing. I went to a guy with a college who actually majored in math. I didn't know you could major in math, but he did. Or you look at the girl kind of moving her lips to the song that's in her head, dreaming one day to be on American Idol. Or the star quarterback sitting there with the football in his hand waiting for practice to come so that the game gets there on Friday and he can lead his team to victory. Or the quiet, emo writer who writes down everything that he can think of in hopes of one day penning a poem or a book. No.
Michael, you're so
That was brilliant.
Each of those people have a sweet spot. And they may have developed early. Some of you may know where your sweet spot is. This is what we call a gift. This is what we call stuff you like to do. Over the next 3 weeks, we're going to be studying a book, and I wasn't going to do this, but I think we need to, as we continue to talk about the changes that are going on in our youth group. There's a book called Max Lucado, who's a very great Christian writer, called Cure for the Common Life. And what he talks about is how we can find that sweet spot in our life, what things we need to do to get there. And in 1 Corinthians 12:7, in the Message, it says, each person is given something to do that shows who God is. Each of us has a gift that, when used and used properly, will glorify God to your utmost. And that's what Max Lucado talks about in the book, and that's what we're going to talk about over the next few weeks. And each week we'll look at a different section. Next week we're going to talk about unpacking your bags. Then we'll look at risking your life, and then to take your life and love it. When he talks about unpacking your bag, he's talking about finding your sweet spot. And if I will get my slide of circles, there you go. This is how your life works. How many have ever played the game of the carnival where you have to live 3 circles on top of each other to try to get the... No one? Man, that's really bad now. You take 3 little silver things and drop them. Fair. Gosh. Anyways, it's a game of the fair. You know how games of the fair are. They're incredibly hard. And it's where you have a circle that's painted, and you have these 3 circles that you have to drop and cover the entire circle. And you have to overlap them just right. And when you look at the guy, just like any fair game, he does it perfect. You just flop them down, no thinking about it. But then when you try to do it, you're off by just a little bit of this little thing in the circle. When you hit your sweet spot, your everyday life, your strengths, and God's story all combine and fit into that one little hole. Each one of you is prepackaged with a set of skills. You all, in one way or another, have a specific gift, whether it be music, or sports, or reading, or writing, or taking care of kids, or any number of 100 different others. And we all have that spot, and we all have a gift, but a lot of times what comes into play, and what Max talks about, is family and life, and our culture comes in and tells us that what we want to be is not who we should be. It's like the father, or me pushing Timothy to be this giant football player when he loves putting things together. Or pushing Abigail to be this great doctor when she would rather stay home and take care of her kids. Our parents do that, and they don't do it knowingly. Some may, some may not. But God has a blueprint for each one of us in this life. We are part of His story. Your life, whether you want to believe it or not, is part of a bigger story than you and yourselves. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about when we get into service. We're going to reach out beyond ourselves and help others. But in Max Lucado's book, he uses an acronym. Everybody know what an acronym is? Okay. He uses an acronym called STORY. And the first one is S, and you have it, and I didn't give you pens, so don't worry about writing it down. The first S is, what are your strengths? What is it that you like to do? What do you enjoy in your life? And I know some of you may think, well, I'm only 15 or 16, I don't have a lot. But you have something in your life you like to do. The T stands for, what is your topic? What do you enjoy working with? Do you like working with animals? Do you like to write? Do you like to draw? Those are the topics that you're dealing with when you're trying to find your strengths. What are your optimal conditions? Where do you work best? When I was in high school, I loved writing under pressure. I loved writing with a 5-page paper due the next day. Because my hand would just fly and my mind would just go. And I would end up with a good paper and a great grade. But if I had plenty of time, I would waste and I would just sit around and I would piddle. What are your optimal conditions? Do you like working under pressure? Do you like working when you have plenty of time to get things done? The R is, what about your relationships? Are you an extrovert or an introvert? This one here for me was kind of a tricky thing because God called me to be a youth pastor, but in high school I was a very introverted person. And today I still am to a point. I like being by myself. I like just kind of sitting around. But are you that? That depends on where your gifts are, whether you're introvert or extrovert. If you don't know what that means, an introvert is somebody who doesn't like to talk to other people. Extrovert is somebody that you can't keep away from other people. And the Y just stands for yes. The Y is the part where all of that comes together. And you found your strength, you found your topic, you found your optimal condition, and you found your relationship. And that's where you fill. When are you most yourself? When do you think about this for just a second? When do you feel most comfortable? And you know, I answer. And I know a lot of you, and I know a lot of what you want to do. And I understand being a teenager, you don't necessarily have all the answers, because believe me, I knew I was going to college 6 weeks before I was going to college. I didn't plan on it. I didn't even know what college credit was. Somebody said, hey, do you want to go to college? I said, sure, why not? And I left. That's what it is.
Did it make your life better?
Yes. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. I'd still be in Miami.
Dade County,
I would have stayed in Miami.
not part of Florida.
How much, I just asked you, where are you most yourself? How many times a day do you pretend to be something you're not? I'm going to use this, and I came up with a neat word, and I just think it's funny. How many of you have ever seen a peacock?
Seen a
Up close, seen a peacock. Gone to the zoo. You ever seen it with its feathers fully fanned out? When I was in high school, there was a zoo in Miami, and they had dozens of them, and you could watch them. And when we were at school, when the biggest place where we see people, where I see you guys specifically, and I'll talk to you specifically, where I see you being something you're not, when you're playing the peacock and fluffing your feathers, is when you're trying to date somebody. And don't be embarrassed by this, because everybody in this room does it. We find the person we want to date, we see them, go to school with them, live down the street. Automatically, you change. If you know who that person is, you may change to like the music they like. You may change to do things. If the girl's into tennis, you're going to go and watch tennis, even though you can't stand watching a little green ball go back and forth. Or if you're in love with a quarterback, you're going to go to a football game, even though you have no idea what a touchdown is. But this is what we do.
Except for baseball players. Cody, you think
We spend our lives, a lot of times, and especially in high school, being something we're not. And that extends not just beyond the boyfriend, girlfriend, but it may extend to your friends. It may extend to your family. It may even extend to your parents. Where you have to pretend to be something you're not. Luckily, and this is one thing, if anything I've ever tried to tell you, this is one of those things, is never try to be what your friends want you to be. Especially if you don't want to be it. I spent 6 years in high school. No, 6 years in junior high and high school, sorry.
Wow.
Yeah, I got great grades, let me tell you. I spent 6 years in a high school. It was all one high school, so I just call it high school. Pretending to be something I wasn't. Like I said, I was an introvert, and when I went to school, I tried to be something I wasn't. I played sports and I was good, but it wasn't what I liked to do. How many people of those people did I try to impress that I currently am friends with? Anybody guess? I told y'all before.
0.
Absolutely no one. I talked to not a single person in high school. So I wasted 6 years trying to pretend to be something I'm not for people that I'm not even currently friends with, who had no shaping on my life or where I went. In high school, you need to be careful because you can easily get wrapped up in that. But luckily, our lives are not defined by what our friends say about us. Some of us may be completely off base. That's what the standard we live by. There's a saying that says you can't please all the people all the time. And that's true. Believe me, I work in a company and you're always trying to please your boss and his boss and his boss's boss and the person that talks to the secretary. But you can't. You can only be who you are and you can only do what you do. And if that's right or wrong, you have to live your life by it. The one person we have to please is the one person who gives us that sweet spot, and that is Jesus Christ. Like I said, I see you guys do a lot of things to impress a lot of people. And some of it's very disheartening. Some of it's, normal teenage stuff. One of the things that really bothers me, and I hate showboating on anybody, no matter who it is, and I hate doing it. One of the things that really bothers me a lot of times is when you see this big old sports player, and there's no way in the world this guy's a Christian. Score a touchdown, and the first thing he does is hit his knee, crosses himself, pretends to thank God. But yet you've read a story a week ago where he was out beating his wife or something like that. I think a lot of sports stars play that, and they know it's almost like a politician and they have to get the favor. We cannot allow ourselves to get in the way. We have to allow God to walk into our lives and God to take charge of our lives. Our life is going to be wasted. Most of you may or may not know this. I came to Tribeca, like I said, on a very quick whim did I come to Tribeca. I spent 3 years in their youth ministry program, got out of it. Didn't feel it's where God wanted me to be. Done youth ministry for a year to create church and just said, you know what, that's not for me, I don't want it. Spent the next 5 years wondering where in the world I was going to be. I had a good job and worked for the same company that I work for now, but there was still something missing. And then finally God brought me back to where I am. One of my favorite lines of Superman is, anybody guess? I'll give you a candy bar if you can guess my favorite line in Superman. I've said it before. Where's my Spider-Man image?
Spider-Man?
Image. Where's
Wait,
my
Superman or Spider-Man?
Spider-Man.
Oh, you just changed
What
it.
is
I know.
Spider-Man
I got it. You want the Spider-Man movie?
I want my image.
I want to see it. It's right here on the... He wants his...
No, it didn't.
75% of people
You want... Wait, which movie is it?
Spider-Man 1.
I got it.
What?
With great power comes great responsibility. You owe me $1.
No, I owe you candy bar, not $1.
Oh, okay.
With great power comes great responsibility. This includes you. And you may not think you have great power. But let me tell you, you do. I'm going to read something to you. And this is a story that Jesus told. It's a parable for those who know. And it's just a story that Jesus told to try to get a point across. And I'm going to tell it to you because I think it really fits here. It says, again, it would be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted his property to them. To one he gave 5 talents of money, to another 2 talents, and to one 1 talent, each according to his ability. Then he went on his journey. The man who received the 5 talents worked once and put his money to work. He gained 5 more. So also the one with 2 talents gave 2 more. But the one who had received the 1 talent went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants returned and settled accounts with them. The man who had received the 5 talents brought the other 5. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 5 talents. See, I've gained 5 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I'll put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. The man with the 2 talents came. Master, you entrusted me with 2 talents, so I've gained 2 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I'll put you in charge of many. Come and share your master's happiness. The man who had received the 1 talent, Master, I knew that you are a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown, gathering where you have not scattered seed. So I was afraid and went out and hid your talent in the ground. See, here's what belongs to you. The master replied, you wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered. Well, then you should have put my money on deposit with the banker so that I would have returned, I would have received it back with interest. Take the talent from him and give it to the one who has 10 talents. For everyone who has will be given more, and he will have an abundance. Whoever does not, even what he has will be taken from him. What did the servant do wrong? What did the one servant do wrong?
He didn't show his talent.
He didn't show his talent. In the corporate world where this setting takes place back in the day, you are required to produce. When I go to my job every day, I have to do something. As weird as that may be, that's the way it works. When this master went away, he gave his money out and said, here, do what you want. 2 of them took the risk and and invested the money and got a return on the investment. The one who didn't just kind of sat there. You guys are like those guys with talent. You have a talent. God has given you something to do. Each of you has a specific talent for a specific time, for a specific purpose. And if you don't do that, if I would have continued to lead my life and not been a youth pastor, my life would have remained unfulfilled. And I would have had to answer to God. And I may have been a good person. And I continued to go to church, but I wasn't doing what God has called me to do. We have to take risk in our lives. And we have to, and I know that's a concept you may not understand, but we have to do things that people say we can't do. Otherwise, we'll never do anything. The company I work for, MDON, is a great place to work. I love my job. I like what I do. I have great bosses. I have some of the best bosses in the world. My job is very relaxing. Anybody who's talked to me during the day knows that I don't do a whole lot. But that job is not what I'm called to do. And yes, I know a lot about computers, and yes, I can work on computers, and yes, I can program web pages and all kinds of other stuff. But even though I may seem to have that gift, that is not what God has called me to do. Where I am is what God has called me to do, and I've left that and come back. But God brought me up to be a pastor. I grew up in church all my life, and that's not a prerequisite. That's where I learned a lot of what I know. Each of you is born with a gift. Each of you is born with a talent. How many parents love their job? I mean, they come home whistling because they have the greatest job in the world.
My dad comes home. One of the 2.
How many of your parents come home yelling and screaming, complaining about the day they had because it sucked and life was horrible? Okay.
It's all your fault because the house is
It's all your house because the house isn't clean. Like your paper says, it's all your fault because the house isn't clean. You know what it says. Like your paper says, 75% of the people in the workplace today hate their jobs.
I love my job.
You never know if your kids are paying. And I can tell you, where I work, I have people that hate their job, but yet don't want to leave it because they don't know what else they do. I have one friend, his name is Jason, and he works on the other side of the building for me, and his job is pretty mundane. But he complains because he's not going to get any better, but Jason does nothing to improve his situation. He sits and plays WoW at work.
Wow. World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft for those non-people.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, the commercial.
I don't like that.
But he plays this game at work, and this is a pretty big game to play at work, and he's got his computer set up. But over the 6 years that I've known Jason, he's never done anything to improve his life. And he will continue to be in the same place because all he does is complain about it, but he doesn't do anything about it. When you find your sweet spot, when you find that thing that you like to do and what God has called you to do, your career will be incredible for you. You will enjoy what you will do. You enjoy going to work. And we must, I talk to those who have a job here, and I talk to other people who have jobs that don't work anymore. You have to be careful with work, and especially as teenagers, because people don't think teenagers know anything. But Satan will use your job to be a hindrance to you. Satan will cause you to work a lot.
Amen.
He will cause your boss to give you so many hours. And you can be really good at your job, and that's why you need to work more. Or you can get so wrapped up in the money you receive, and this is one that we've had here in the youth group. You get so wrapped up in the money, and your parents may not have a lot of money, and all of a sudden you're getting $200 and $300 paychecks. That becomes your God. And you continue to work, and you continue to push because you want that. You don't worry about church, and yeah, you miss, and you'll go when you can. Or your job will just be everything to you. And you'll just forget about everything else, not necessarily the money, just because you may be good at it. And you may work at Sonic, and you may love serving hamburgers. Some people do, and some people don't. That's just the way it is. But when as you go, and we have as you continue to grow, and as you continue to mature in high school, and when you decide to think about a job, and there's a test that we'll take over the next 3 weeks, that will help you to understand where your sweet spot is. It's what gifts you are. And you're young enough to know and to understand what to do with those gifts. So I'm going to wrap it up. And I know you guys kind of, I didn't want to go too deep into the book, and so I just kind of laid it out. And it'll be better, believe me. If you ever get a chance to read the book or you want to borrow mine, let me know. We are a part of God's great story. That story started back in creation with Genesis. We'll go through our lives, and we'll end once the revelation has been happening. We have a part to play. And this is one thing I want you to think about this. What would happen if everybody in the world did what they love to do?
Everybody playing sports. Yeah.
Not everybody likes sports.
I hate sports.
Alex.
There'd be people, like, we'd have people not doing the stuff they needed to do. Like, there's stuff that needs stuff.
Maybe yes, maybe no.
No one would flip burgers.
Okay, no, you tell me how many people you don't want to go pick up garbage Saturday morning. You find me something.
Oh, Steven. Steven will flip burgers. He won't even look back here.
But how cool would that be? I mean, how cool, even for you individually, how cool would it to be when you graduated college or got out of high school, you found the perfect job that you wanted to do?
That make me explode.
The Bible tells us that God says that He will give us the desires of His heart. And He will. And I'll tell you the story. I'm an accounting major, for those who don't know. I have an accounting degree. I was going to be a CPA. And when I was almost graduated, I shifted and started going to school at night at MTSU rather than during the day at Tribeca. And I desperately wanted to work for Deloitte & Touche, which is one of the top 5 accounting firms in the world. About 6 months later, I had a job with Deloitte & Touche. It wasn't the best job, and it was one of their low-level entry positions, but I had that job. And as a CPA, it was a pretty good place to work because as you progressed and got on, I was there 3 months, and that was not where God wanted me to be. And God will do that. He will give you the desires of your heart, but at some point in time, you will realize that that is not truly what you want. Some of you right now may be thinking, yeah, I want to graduate, I want to go to college and play football or baseball or anything like that, you know, and then take my shot at the pros, and that may not be where God has called you to be. That may not be what God wants you to do. And as we get into the book, the pages of your life have been written. A lot of people say that kids are an empty slate. Max Lucado talks about your life has already been written. God knows where you need to be. All you have to do is learn how to read. Stand up. Jumping jacks. Close your eyes. Go ahead, close your eyes.
That's why.
Dear Lord, we thank you for this message tonight, and I pray that somewhere in there somebody understood what was going on. Lord, we know that you've given us a sweet spot, and I pray for each teenager here that they will find that. And as they go through high school and they start to do different things, that they will experience and understand where that sweet spot is and where you want them to be, and whether it's a teacher, a preacher, a missionary, or a truck driver, a garbage man, or lawyer, or CEO, or anything like that, Lord. You've given us each a gift. And no job is better than any other job. We are all there to serve you. And I just pray that you be with the students as they go. In your name, amen.